Hang on. It flashes up on the screen.
Oh my gosh, for the love of God.
I'm
not editing any of this.
Oh my God. And no, we're not going to edit.
Yeah, no, just kind of let it flow. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Whiskey and Bagels. I'm Conscious Medium Brandon Russ, and with me as always is...
astrologer and life coach, hi, Penny Dix.
What was that? Did you get a new title?
No, actually, I did it the wrong way around, because what I do, as you know, is hi, I'm astrologer and life coach Penny Dix.
So you did it a European way. By the way, I'm smudging you.
You're doing what?
Nothing.
I don't know whether I actually approve of you doing that.
Remember that other camera angle we talked about? Anyways, we've got to talk about Venus, and you know what that rhymes with? We're going to talk about retrogrades. We're going to talk about labor disputes. We're going to talk about upheavals and relationships on the next Whiskey and Bagels. All right, everybody. It's a good time to be an astrologer and life coach, isn't it?
Very. I'm really noticing that. I tell you what I've really noticed is, you know, we've got this grand cardinal cross energy that we're kind of dipping in and out of at the moment, and also the fact that the nodes have shifted signs and from fixed to cardinal energy. And what I'm finding is, apart from myself, my bloody hell, my clients are really saying things like they're really struggling, they're feeling frustrated, they don't know what it's all about, nobody understands them, all that kind of stuff. Not all of them, not completely. I'm not, you know, and also I'm getting that a bit from friends as well who are, you know, sort of struggling with it. And I found that I tell you how I felt, right? I feel if I was still menstrual, I felt premenstrual.
24/7. Yeah, and it's, well, I think even in the, I mean, I literally have no opinion about that. I'm just letting you know. It's your body, it's your issues. I don't know. But on the other side of that, even the people that have the strongest of constitutions are struggling a little bit right now, because what's happening is you've got a firefight in the sky, literally, where you have the fixed signs needing to let go. And by the way, as we're filming this, when you see this tonight, and by the way, we're going to get back to Wednesdays. It's all good. Sometimes this summer, like a kid, you know, the kids, blah, 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 whatever. But
it is Wednesday.
It is Wednesday. But on this night, you know, and actually probably in about another 4 hours or so, we have the new moon, right?
Oh.
We've got new moon energy. What's up?
The new moon was on Monday. You missed it.
Gosh. Well, speaking of menstrual, I'm late. So that's terrible, Penny. I don't know. We might have to edit that one or not.
Do you want to?
You've got the new moon energy. I'm talking about this week. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Moon energy. And then you've got the flip of the nodes that have happened. And then you've got Venus going retrograde. You have Mercury starting to slow down, and you start to get into the shadow period of the Mercury retrograde. We're kind of getting it from all ends, and the nodal stuff is going to draw out these things. How you handle them are in Venus, you know, in Mercury, in Lilith. I mean, pay attention to Lilith during this time, because it's just going to rip a Band-Aid off. And, you know, Lilith is in conjunct. We'll talk about it when we get to the chart, but Lilith is conjunct right in the middle of Mars and Venus. You got to pay attention to which house this is going on in. It's a big deal.
Well, actually, no, Mars is now in Virgo and Venus is in Leo, because Venus goes retrograde in Leo.
And Lilith splits the uprights. So, you know, that's the thing. It's like they're both drawing on this healing energy of, you know, it's squirrely energy. It's intense. It's an intensity that you're not really sure about.
How have you found this energy affecting you, Brandon?
Oh, I have opinions.
Okay.
I have opinions. I had a situation. We had a lovely guest in here. Some of you know her, Reverend Judy Weaver. She and I had a great circle the other night. It was just a lot of laughter. Not a lot of spirit. I'm just kidding. There was tons of spirit, but it was you know, the jokes were funny. we played off of each other well. I was a little nervous about it because we have such a dichotomy of style, but it works. The following day, she was teaching a class on angelic ascension. And I'm like, oh, guys, people wanted to take the class. I'm like, listen, I'll go grab the lunch. I had other, things to go on to. And, so I go into our local sub place that is a national chain because it's not what I had planned to do. Then I'm like, oh, you're steady Eddie. I know that you're there. And I ordered everything online. And when I went to go pick it up, the woman berated me because I didn't call it in because it would be considered a platter because I had so many sandwiches. And I looked at her and she went so far as to say, you made all of these people wait for your order. So I am not a Karen. I am not somebody that complains to complain. I don't. I thought that was not only a little over the top, I thought it was flat out disrespectful. I have found the energy to be flat out disrespectful. And I don't stand for that. I've been disrespected a lot, not only for my gifts, my talents, my thoughts, my ideas, that I can't have it in commonplace, right? So for me, I did go back and I did write an email and I was very clear. I said, listen, your prices have been exorbitant. I spent however much I had spent on just sandwiches. And I get yelled at and shamed, quite frankly, shamed because your program didn't say, hey, you should probably make this into a platter and give us some notice. I'm like, your entire system didn't set up that person for success and they took it out on me. That's an organizational problem. And as much as her reaction, she should have been in check and whatever, but maybe that's the change that we have. And by the way, this is exactly where you see the employee looking at the employer saying, you're doing me wrong here. Yeah. This is a revolt time, and we're gonna show this in the chart. We're only gonna work with one chart today, and I'm gonna tell you why I like it. One, as the also editor, I'm gonna get this out. Number two, I think sometimes we use too many charts. Like I've kind of heard whispers of it, and you and I are junkies. We're just like, oh yeah, and then they're just like, oh, here's another thing I'm confused on. So by maybe just focusing in on this one chart today, we'll kind of like update things. And by the way, in my coaching call, which you can still get involved with, I talk about a different aspect of astrology every week, right? So maybe we're talking about how the moon is going, maybe oh my gosh, what the hell did we talk about this week? We definitely talked about the nodes. We talked about the node flip. So, these are the types of topics, but I have found people to be they don't care. Like everybody is hitting their I don't care point. Does that make sense?
Yes. And at this point, can I give you a compliment?
I don't know.
Because what I've heard...
Seriously, I don't know.
What I've heard from you is that you sound like you're getting a lot of kind of negative stuff coming at you. And I do want to give you this because it is really important. Because it's from a friend of mine who is a medium. Her name is Lee O'Neill. Okay. And she's a well-known and respected medium here in Malta and Gozo and in the UK and in Ireland. And anyway, I asked her to watch the little bit of mediumship that you did at the end of last week's Whiskey.
That was kind of sweet, wasn't it?
And she knows me very well and she's done mediumship with me. And she just came back and said, wow. Was he spot on or what?
I appreciate that.
She said that was bloody amazing. And I have to tell you again, because it absolutely, you saw it, shook me to the core.
I think,
I was just like, wow.
Somebody made the comment, like, that's not authentic. And I'm like, okay.
Ignore it.
I just let it sit.
I'm telling everybody out there.
I think that's my point.
Brandon does not know anything about that part of my life, my past in that sense, because it's nothing that has particularly been relevant for either of us to talk about together. We talk about raunchy stuff like bedroom stuff and kind of things like that.
Put your shirt back on. Yeah.
Yes. But in all seriousness, that totally shocked me. and it was spontaneous. It was unasked for. It didn't matter. And I did struggle at the beginning because I just kept thinking March, April. And I know it means something to me and I couldn't work out what it was. And then when the proverbial penny dropped, it was like, fuck.
Yeah, and it's interesting because the 3-3, we kept saying March 3rd, March 3rd, March 3rd, and it was 3:30. It was March 30th that you had that.
It was actually, yes, it was. But it was, I tell you what's interesting is I went into surgery at 4 p.m. on the day that, what happened was at about 3:30 that day, I'd already got the ruptured appendix, which they didn't know. But what happened next was that the whole of my bowel perforated and it put me into excruciating pain and obviously on the edge of septicemia and peritonitis. And when they heard me screaming, and you were talking about my mother calling for the nurse because I was sort of...
Wands, kids.
And I'm going all kind of goosey talking about it. But when you said that my mum couldn't take it anymore, and she did, she just said, "I'm not. This is not right. You've got to be seen." So she went out in the corridor of the hospital and just said, "Please, will you come? Please, will you come?" They all came running in. Within, I would say, 20 minutes, I'd been prepped for surgery, and I was in surgery 4 hours.
That's kind of impressive.
Yeah.
That's kind of impressive. So 2 other things with that 3-3. I sat somewhere right around here, because this room goes this way and I'm at the far end of it and we have our circle here. And it's funny, I came to someone that actually Judy had known. It was a relative of Judy's. So I didn't really know them. They were new to me. And I kept bringing up, by the way, guys, lock in your 1, 2, and 3.
I just remembered my tarot are over there.
Yeah.
Oh God.
We're gonna have to. Oh, okay, thank you.
You've got someone walking in as well.
People are. Yeah, we've got walk-ins. It's all good. Well, we'll have. Could you get Penny's cards for her, please? Chip. Jump up the ship.
I don't think I've got any other ones here.
Well, you can get up and get them. I mean, I will do a clever edit, but
I'll tell you.
No, don't do it yet. Jeez, wait till I'm in the middle of the story. I got people bringing me salads. Do they
know we're recording?
Well, yeah, but they also, one of the fun things, like when you hang out with me, like little things to be like, hey, B, and you're like, they just get me. Oh, that person got me. So as I'm sitting here, I had, and we're managing the room, we had a handful of people here. It was really, really good. And I stopped and I said, listen, I'm getting repeat numbers and repeat letters with you. I'm going to come back to you so that I can focus in on you, but I need you to take a deep breath because when I come to you, it's going to come quick and I need you to be focused. It's like spirit directed me how I had to manage that. I finished up this other reading. And again, when you work in stream of consciousness, like you sometimes are like, after the messages or, this just in, like you need to kind of like, you need to manage how much you're getting and why you're getting it. And when I came to her, I said, it's a jaw drop if it's March 3rd. And she said 100%, that's my son's birthday. And I'm like, what are the double letters? And she told me the double letters, I'm going to use something different. Because I for confidentiality reasons, let's just say it was PP, DD. Let's just say DD, PP, DD, right? And
DD?
DD, as in like Penny Dick Sticks. So, which by the way, is a domain name taken.
I'm sure I have told you this before, but I'm just going to interrupt you. My married name was Willie. So I was Penny Dix Willie.
Penny Dix Willie. People wonder how we got together.
And my ex-husband's first name was Helmut.
It was Helmut Willie.
I think that's why I married him.
Are you seeing this face? Like, good choice. But you grew from it.
Oh, I did.
So the amazing connection with this.
Sorry, carry on.
3-3 came up again in a reading this time.
Oh, I see.
This time in her connection. It was interesting because she was perpendicular to me, and then another person who was sitting next to me also lost a son. And it was like psychometry at its finest. And I have found that a lot. I've also found that my readings have been nothing short of just spot on, so seamless, so effortless. Like, I'm telling you, physically, I'm stressed in all these other places. And then when I sit down to do a reading, I'm so on point because it's the one time, like, my body's at rest when I'm connecting and when I'm reading. And maybe I needed that last week, you know, at that point in the show. But I've also said, I appreciate that feedback. And, you know,
my tarot cards are over there because she was here yesterday and we did each other's tarot.
Oh, what did you find out?
Well, actually, I was a little bit concerned because there was the Tower of Destruction on top of me. And she said, I don't think it's you. She says, you're going to hear about somebody else's kind of shock or shit or something.
Do you think?
I don't know. Well, I hope it's not me.
I'm smudging you. Got people everywhere here. We're live in the studio. Hey, it's all good. It's all good. We rock and roll here. Listen, we're full active, you know, mediumship haven here. We all just hang out. So why don't we do this? Why don't I talk for just a minute about the 1, 2, 3 while you go get the deck?
Hello.
And we're back. How'd you like that?
That's clever.
So Penny's got her cards and everything. So lock in your 1, 2, or 3. And as you know, magic happened in that 1, 2, or 3 in more ways than one when we doubled down. I've been shuffling all morning, but I think we should chart time. I think it's chart time. I think we should jump into chart a little bit.
Yeah.
Because you know, we're talking about doing one chart here, and this is the doozy. You know, this is the one, guys. This is the one we want to show you, and there's a lot going on here.
Yeah,
a ton going on. As Venus, and by the way, whenever a planet goes retrograde, it always slows down before it goes there. Now, retrograde is an optical illusion. It is not actually the planets going backwards, but for charting purposes, it is not an optical illusion, but rather a very deep reality. And when it goes retrograde, basically what happens is since we're kind of all centrically rotating around the sun, when it gets to a certain point, it looks like it's going backwards. It's just that simple. Mercury is going to go in a couple of weeks here. Mercury goes 3.32 times a year. And basically what that means is about every 4 years, we get 4 Mercury retrogrades, one at the beginning of the year and the end of the year. With Venus goes in such a way that it goes retrograde every year, once a year, because we're so parallel in the number of days to circle the sun. But we can actually get to Venus retrogrades, but they're like once every 20 years. It's really kind of rare. So in these middle astrological signs, they end up having an impact. So Venus, from an exalted standpoint, is pretty regular. Now the outside planets tend to go they go retrograde anywhere from 4 to 6 months, depending upon where they're at and where we're at in our nadir to the sun. So every year there's retrogrades on every planet, right? So the outer planets, and they may go retrograde for 6 months. That's why sometimes they're so long in transit. That's what makes it so long, is the actual retrograde times. But with Venus, I mean, this is sitting here in the 4th house. Penny, what's your take on just that static placement?
Okay, well, she's been in shadow since about June the 20th. So actually quite a while now. Yeah. Venus has been in shadow. I think the 4th house is interesting because it's a lunar house, if you like. It was a mother house. It's a house of home and family. And we've got Venus there, who is the sort of the feminine energy, the real divine feminine energy. So I think that in general, what we have to look at, the fact that Saturn is in opposition to Mars, right? So retrograde Saturn in Pisces is opposing Mars in Virgo. So that is, we just need to sort of park that somewhere and kind of keep that there in our mind. But what's interesting is if you actually look at the moon and Uranus, Pluto, and Neptune, they're making like a kite formation.
Yeah. Yeah. And that, and that kite, that trine energy, and again, it's an oblong trine. It'll what it does is it creates the points of emphasis here, right? Yes. So you've got the moon, you got the 5th, the 9th, and the 12th house. Well, the 5th house is your creativity. The 9th house is your travel and knowledge. The 12th house is your spiritual and house of undoing. Like some people can't handle, you can't handle the 12th. That's really what that is. Oh my gosh, I love that catchphrase. You can't handle the 12th.
Wow.
I don't know. I'm amused.
The 12th of never.
Well, I have to tell you, my creativity has been on high. I have a couple of new kind of ventures that are just, and by the way, this platform is going to be where I show them, but I've got a lot of music coming.
Oh, lovely.
It's been pretty clear to me that I gotta go back into this. But there's a couple of things here, just even in the Venus to Mars. You've also got Lilith in the center of this. And this is a really exasperated connection. Like this is extreme.
Yes.
This is some extreme stuff. So if you're feeling extreme, if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're feeling whatever, now it's sitting in the 4th house. This is our house of foundation and family. So you might feel like your foundation is a little,
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
You look around and the things that you thought were going to be concrete aren't, or that you're seeing it for the truth that it is. That doesn't mean you have to eliminate anything. And by the way, can we get out of the BS thing of like, we have to get rid of something as soon as it doesn't serve us? Be a grown-up and work with it and work through it. Like there is too much spiritual bypassing with give up. There just is. And I think that there are times where you do, but you've got to go through the process. You've got to go through that. I have a lot of respect for somebody that tries to make it work. I have a lot of respect for situations where you're like, well, maybe this is showing me to adapt a little bit. And I'm not saying you have to change who you are, but there does come a certain point where you can't do it anymore. But I think we are way too quick, and we love the memes where it's like they pushed against me and I said, I'm not going to do that. Well, you're full of shit and you're a chicken. Like there are people that do that. So be cautious when people are a little too much like, Stella got her groove back and burned everything. It's like, or you haven't dealt with your bipolar. I'm sorry.
The other thing that we need to mention is also on the 23rd, Chiron, a few hours later, also goes retrograde in Aries.
Aries in retrograde, Chiron and Aries in retrograde.
Yes.
Someone that went through the Chiron return already. And by the way, it comes right up to my Chiron and it doesn't quite meet it again. So it's conjunct. But I'm so done with
that should bring you some healing.
It should. God damn it. Order that up. Get me an Uber Aries over here right away. Give me an Uber. Give me a Chiron Uber.
Absolutely.
I'll take that to the stars.
But isn't it interesting? Because with the sun at the anaretic degree of Cancer, literally at 29:59, in opposition to retrograde Pluto, and of course they're both squaring the nodes, and that North Node in Aries is conjunct Eris. So we have this grand cardinal cross, as well as Venus going retrograde, Chiron going retrograde, and we have, I think, some incredibly volatile energy on the 23rd.
Well, and I think, we had done our little pregame here to talk about what's going on with, like in Ukraine and Belarus. And,
yes,
I mean, give a little recap with this, because that explains this 3rd and 9th house, because Pluto in retrograde in Capricorn in the 9th house is shit's going to get revealed. I mean,
Yes, and I think, you know, it's shit hitting the fan stuff, isn't it?
Mhm.
And I think it was interesting that, and I don't know whether I mentioned this at the beginning or not, I can't remember, about MI6 saying that the Russian people in general are pretty angry at the way things are going. Putin was supposed to go to South Africa for a meeting of one of the sort of like the UN or whatever.
Yeah, they need more
He's not going because
stuff.
he's not going because he's frightened he might get arrested.
Well,
For war crimes.
Yeah, if Pluto's not in opposition to the sun now, holy crap, that's the thing. You know, and you've got what's his name? I want to call him Petrovsky.
Bogosian.
Bogosian is, you mentioned, is in Belarus. They're
apparently
they're you know they're gathering troops. They're pulling things together. I mean, he doesn't want to go because he doesn't want to come back and find somebody in a seat. You know, it's Little Red Riding Hood. He doesn't want to give up his spot. You know, and that's on a global scale. I mean, it's, you know, another thing that's happening globally, and I know that I know it's waned a little bit. You know, and my friends in France, their labor disputes and their protests to that have calmed down, but it's that energy. It's that energy that you've been feeling with that. And also here in the US, and this is very noteworthy to talk about, we've got Saturn in opposition to, you know, the stellium triad of Mars, Venus, and Lilith. This is like rooted foundation. And the UPS people, and I've been asked to do stuff on charts. So guys, here's your part with this. This is very much about standing in your own truth. This is about, on the surface, it looks like it's about fair pay and vacation time and all of the traditional things that you get in a walkout or a protest of this kind. For you guys, it's going to be a little bit more like you're passionate because you've given yourself to these guys. They gave you reason to believe in them in UPS. You wear and bleed brown. And now they're saying you can go, well, maybe we pay a little too much. We're trying to be competitive. Nope, they're trying to keep stockholders happy. They're putting the need for profit ahead of the need for for employee growth and what have you. And I'll talk about the Writers Guild here in a second. But there's a level of automation here that is probably coming in because Saturn in Pisces is up is down and down is up. Your management team, your ownership team is getting exposed.
Yeah.
So with that in the fourth house, and again, this is all static. This is the energy of the, you know, that's in the sky, is telling you to fight for what's yours, fighting for your foundation. This is your home. This is your home. What do you think? What do you think about that? Like with labor disputes, how does Saturn often get involved with labor disputes?
Saturn with labor disputes. Well, it'll be something surely about, if it's in the 10th house, it has to be about the law and rights and kind of the rules, because Saturn is about rules. I mean, I'm not really informed on the labor disputes in America because it's not something that is kind of hot as a hot topic in UK. Yes,
Right.
We know about the Writers Guild, but it's not a hot topic in the UK or Europe. Europe is more focused on what's happening in Ukraine and the fact that the grain has been targeted. Putin has cancelled the agreement to have grain shipped out. So basically, he's now trying to create refugees and starve people out of Ukraine.
Well, yeah, I mean that's just the act of war. I also look at where Uranus is here. You know, I look at Uranus. Yes. I think that's why it's so contentious. Again, you know, the active trine here goes back to that Uranus, which, by the way, is now conjunct to Jupiter. Look out, everybody! Now Jupiter goes retrograde in a couple of weeks too. So does Uranus. Like it's going to be a retrograde party here to end out the year. But you know, Uranus creating that trine with Pluto, right? So that is giving the power to the revolt. It's giving the power to the idea. So if you are protesting, hang in there. The establishment knows it's in trouble. The establishment knows that it's worried. By the way, you want to apply this to Donald Trump? That's all his legal issues. Bam, bam,
absolutely.
Bam to the bam. That's our Trump segment. But then you got the trying to the moon, so you're going to be emotional about it.
Yeah. Do you think with Trump, because I just have this feeling that the way things will unfold is that he will keep getting these indictments, but he'll delay the trials or the whatever. He will then get voted in as the next president, and then he'll pardon himself.
No fucking way. By the way, half of our subscribers just liked and subscribed and shared it with everybody. Donald J. Trump will never be much more of an authority aside from his corner office in his mind. The man he's the guy that doesn't take a hint. That's who Donald Trump is. Donald Trump has become the guy that doesn't take the hint. He literally is giving speeches to half full rooms. He's rambling on about things that are just not even, he's the guy that's trying to, like, if he could just let it go, whatever it is, it doesn't matter if it's about documents, if it's about legal things, if it's about what Chris Christie said about him. He's not a good person, guys. I watched this thing on Rosie O'Donnell, and a lot of people forget in the mid 2000s, he basically fat shamed a woman in public for a year and a half. And nobody thought that was, like, nobody said, oh, that's unbecoming. They're like, well, she is. Okay, you fucking toothless wonder. Like, I don't get the vileness attraction. Like, I don't speak that language. I don't get why somebody is mean and then you go, yeah, you know what? Like me, and if you found some sort of like solace in me standing up to a sub clerk who was trying to shame me, the point of emphasis isn't they're a piece of crap. I understand that there's an institutional problem behind them, but that still doesn't give her the right to try and publicly shame me because I ordered sandwiches online. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I know what the root cause is, but that still doesn't give her the excuse.
No.
The attraction to Donald Trump has been the fact that he's been, quote unquote, saying things that other people are thinking, or he's been able to, go up against the whatever. He is a pure 100% self-servant capitalist from the beginning to the end of it. He does not care about anyone. It doesn't care about, he cannot even open a page in the Bible and tell you what it's about. But yet all of the right-wing Christian groups love him. Why? He doesn't actually speak to your value, or is it a reflection on your values that you don't have any? That's the stuff that's getting exposed right now. That's exactly what happens when Saturn goes retrograde and you have all of this action in an opposite house. All of a sudden, wait till Mercury moves in. Wait till
how do you think Venus retrograde will affect the situation with Trump and the labor problem and that kind of stuff, the writers' union and...
Well, and I think, and listen, I don't care if you supported Trump. I get why you supported Trump. That's my point. How it's going to affect it is that this slow drain is slowly going down the drain. The problem is that the Republican Party is not going to exist after this. We're going to be a one-party system for a while because they have done so much damage. And you think that the vileness and the conspiracy theories are there? They did it to themselves. They have nobody coming up that can say, we have to get back on principles and values. You think it's Ron DeSantis? Look at his chart. Anybody that is advising him doesn't understand timing or whatever. Marianne Williamson, let's have a good, honest conversation about how a light worker might be able to turn this around. Let's start having conversations like that, because one of the challenges that we've really seen in all of this is we don't understand energy. We only understand self-motivation. Biden is in survival mode. Whether you realize it or not, he's protecting his son at every step of the way. That's not good energy. I mean, yeah, you might take a hit for somebody, but for the love of Pete, like, there's a difference between when you're the president of the United States, you have to have a utilitarian mindset. You cannot have a personal value set. Your personal value set can come through it, but you have to look at it. And by the way, there are things that Biden does that are fantastic to the utilitarian side of things. Fantastic. But then you also realize it's because he's so busy trying to protect himself. I think you're going to see a lot of things start to come undone. We talked a little bit about the health of Putin and Trump for that matter. Their personal charts mean a lot in all of these, but at the end of the day, where I'm really going to say is it's just becoming undone more and more every day, every single day. And for him, for Trump, it's a very public thing.
So bringing it down to, say, a personal level for people watching, how do you think it will affect everybody individually? And with, some people have said to me, does it mean my relationship will end? And I think that's quite a good question to answer.
No, and let's not forget the principles of astrology. The principles of astrology are not imminent danger. It's not imminent success. You just have the cards stacked in your favor or against you, but more likely in your favor. Because sometimes what happens in astrology is that you get the complement of what you don't have. Right?
Yeah.
Like you might not have an ounce of Leo in your chart, but right now, Venus in Leo is really important. You can say to the person that you care about, oh, I love you. I mean to say this. That doesn't mean that it's going to fall apart. It just means that you're willing to grow or you're willing to take that risk. You might also say, listen, we've got some serious problems here. God forbid if we ever became happy.
I love it.
The happiest I have ever been is just watching thunderstorms.
Oh, that video you posted on, it was either Facebook or Instagram, was absolute. I felt every bit of that.
It was just
stunning.
Amazing to have the chaos around you and the calm inside.
Yeah. So apart from thunderstorms, let me ask you a question, which I will then answer for myself. Yeah. Are you happy?
I see a path to it.
Okay.
That's a real statement.
Okay.
Because I think, and how I'm built, if I had listen, I'm a Mars and Capricorn in my 5th house. I will never be satisfied. That's not a things don't make me happy. It's that I have to, I ended up at a concert the other night and I just had joy. Just sitting there listening to it. I learned the fine art of not needing to be the center of things. And that's been my transition and my change in things where it's like, people, they can pick on you about ego and that sort of thing. But when you do this work, when you have the entertainment bug, you go and you're like, I'll just go and do this. And I'll go and do that. I'm trying to cure myself of needing to take the lead. And that's a real thing. And you can do that in a lawn chair at SPAC, listening to Dave Matthews all night. Like I hadn't seen them in years. Why? Because I was too damn busy. Things shifted in my schedule. All of a sudden I could meet them early in the day instead of later in the day. I'm like, I'm going. I'm jumping in. And I just sat there with my lemonade, had a couple of those little like donut things. I shouldn't have had any of it, but yeah, it suddenly became an off day when I realized that I could get fresh squeezed lemonade.
Because I worked on being happy. I decided a few years ago, because I'd sort of spent a lot of my life feeling down, feeling miserable, feeling I hadn't got what I wanted or hadn't achieved what I wanted. And I would say about 6 or 7 years ago, no, probably longer actually, I'd say about 10 years ago, I just worked hard on just feeling happy. I chose to be happy. And what I think I did was actually rewire the neural pathways of my brain.
I love that.
Happy. And I can honestly say I'm happy. And yes, shit happens. It happens all the time. But it doesn't take away my joy. Yes, things could happen that really frighten me, like, being given a sort of a life sentence of a terminal illness or something like that. But I believe I would have the strength of mind to turn it around and think, well, then I've got to make the most of what I have left. And actually, of course, the thing is, we never know how much we have left.
Well, and I mean, listen, what you just gave as an answer is something that only you could at this phase in your life. And think about it, you have gone through 2 Saturn returns. That's very significant in your maturity. Very significant. When you go through your 2nd Saturn return, you really do get bit by the I don't really care bug. As in, like, does this matter? Is this true? Do I worry about this? Oh, by the way, it happened to you about 10 years ago. You know, where you said, oh, I have to reprioritize this for me. I know 3 people that are going through Saturn returns right now. 2 of them in their 2nd. And the people that are going through it in their 2nd are just like, this is nonsense. I'm not dealing with this. I appreciate you. I'm not doing that. Okay. And that is significant to me. Somebody that's going through their 1st Saturn return, well, they're in the generational crosshairs of this is a lot of noise. This is a lot of noise. Yeah. And by the way, this generation that is coming up that is doing mediumship right, not these fast track weekend warrior crap, not the people that are like, I can turn over I have it's a real detriment for me. And I don't want to be a crusader about this, but watching people take advantage of other people because there's this thing. And by the way, this broaches the whole other thing I want to talk about with the Writers Guild. Type in 3 questions and they get back to you with an answer. Well, it was a whole lot of vagueness. It was a whole lot of whatever. And they were asking things like, when, are my girlfriend and I going to get back together? If so, when? And will my career be fulfilling? Like, what? Like, you're just typing these in, right? Meanwhile, anybody worth their salt that does this work should say to you, should you be together? Were you a karmic partner? Are you somebody that is meant to be in their life, or meant to be in their life forever, or meant to be in their life for a season? Like, those are real questions that AI can't answer. And I'm breaking the seal on this one.
Yes, absolutely. AI. Where's Uranus? Where's Pluto? Because, this is what is going to be what is unfolding when Pluto, of course, finally moves into Aquarius at the end of next year. We are just going to see this huge kind of surge and, I think, transformation of how we've viewed AI up until now. And I think it's good in a sense that people are already aware and beginning to think, hey, just a minute, I'd really like to deal with real people, because real people will suddenly become unnecessary, obsolete. And actually, exactly. And it's just, we have to be so careful, because we're sowing seeds that could be our ultimate downfall as the human race.
I have very strong opinions about this, like insanely strong opinions. I was recently approached by someone to be a contributor for an AI gallery to see how accurate mediumship through chat GPT,
Chat GPT.
And Brandon, kind of like a, what was it? Kasparov versus the machine, right? It was very much that kind of feel.
Whoa.
And I said, I'll think about it, but I'm going to probably tell you my answer. Years ago, I was asked to go clear a home, bless it, all that other good stuff. And when I showed up, there was this whole team of people with equipment and EVP stuff and sound equipment. And they were lacing the whole house with, cameras and the whole 9 yards. And they were doing some footage to be used for a later date, blah, blah, blah. They were trying to sell a show, basically. And they unwittingly wanted me to be the medium to give them validation. And I said, so let me get this straight. You have $10,000 worth of equipment scattered throughout this home. You're going to catch shadows. You're going to catch anomalies. You're going to catch things that, by the way, the skeptics are going to say is an optical illusion. Hello, retrogrades. And then also, you're going to put a soundtrack behind it to make people feel scared, to make people feel awkward, to invoke a response. And then you're going to call that spiritual work. Meanwhile, I'm going to walk in, I'm going to hold my hand on my chest, and I'm going to listen to the voices that have walked through these halls. I'm going to tell you who lived here. I'm going to tell you how they passed. I'm going to tell you what they did and what's important to them even today. And you're going to cut me out of that, aside from the clip when I say, yeah, there's a lot of energy here. And the guy looked at me and he goes, well, you know, we have to make it interesting. And I said, you have to tell the story the way it's supposed to be told. There's a couple of points to this. One, there are very clear boundaries when you're doing spiritual work, and one of them is authenticity. We have been fooled. And by the way, I'm going to go here because I've seen the inner workings. I'm going to go off on a little bit of rant here. I'm sorry. I have to. We have been given a bill of goods, partially because of the game that it plays. But I'm here to tell you that every single medium you've seen on TV has been bent, folded, and manipulated. That's just the game, right? They edit it so they look good. They edit so it's a surprise. They edit so that then it's whatever. By the way, I used the exact same technique in the promo last week when it hit you and you went, oh, and we stopped for a second and let your reaction go. That was a manipulation. I will own it. It was also interesting. It was fun, and I learned a new tool. But on the flip side of that, taking that EVP, they've got all of this equipment and all of this whatever, and I did it better than the equipment ever thought of doing it. And they needed still a human to manipulate it to get it to where it needed to be. Now I'll fast forward and say, this AI thing should scare the shit out of everybody. I own a publishing company. You can now say, write me a script like, you know, like an Agatha Christie in the genre that would appeal to, you know, horror films in the style of Will Ferrell. And you're going to get an hysterical, and you will get quality product. You will get a product that has a quality to it. That we have taken every damn shortcut to our enlightenment. My phone started ringing off the hook last week, and I started to hear from old producers and directors and people that I had worked with back when I was developing a show. And they said, how soon do you think we could pull something together? And I'm like, wow. I go, I must have said something right on Whiskey and Bagels. They must have seen the reading, right? No.
They must have done, yeah. No?
No, that wasn't the reason. Although I think they're using me to get to you.
They will fail miserably.
They all do it. They all do it. I'm just telling you. Anyway, so.
Oh, wow.
As it turns out, I realized that the Actors Guild was also going on strike. When you do reality shows, you're outside the purview of any of the unions. It's literally just turn on the camera and wish for the best and have the editor get it in place. The thing that the writers are actually fighting against is the idea they're purposely putting in language that they can use chat AI to write their script in your formatting, in your ability to take your character and your creation and turn it into something for them and then say, you, I don't have to pay you. That is why the Writers Guild is on strike. That is why the Actors Guild said, oh no, we can't do that. Do you know how close we are to an artificial Tom Hanks? Do you have any idea how close? And by the way, it's already happened to music. It has already happened to music. Yeah, I appreciate Marshmello. I appreciate Post Malone. They're not fucking musicians. They're just not. Pick up a guitar and show me what you know. Yeah. Why is that becoming the lost art? Yeah. This should scare everyone. Mediumship, AI, I'm going to tell you exactly how it works. You have unwittingly been giving them all of your, quote, public information. You know those things that you click off on Apple and Facebook? I'm sorry if I just lost a sponsor, but here we are.
You're right. You're right. You know, what was your first car?
Yeah, exactly.
What color was it?
Well, hold on a second. I'll go even further. Then all of a sudden you say to, Penny says, hey, I want a mediumship reading. Well, guess what they pull out? They pull out everything that it knows in a millisecond, by the way. Up to and including every post you've ever said. I'm really missing Mum today.
But do you know also what happens? I've noticed it's almost as if already Siri or whatever is reading my mind, because I'll be thinking about something which I haven't spoken about and it comes up and I think, now that is weird.
Well, chat AI works in a way of predictive index. So something brought you to that logical place to think about that. I'm going to tell you, I had it happen in a song list. I was looking up the last couple of concerts that I went to, and then I said, oh, you know who I didn't get to see was this person, and they had passed away. And sure enough, there's one of their songs in the song list. And by the way, completely different genre. You go New Orleans jazz funk, jam band, and then folk singers. Like there's no reason why it should go, Wheel of Fire, two-step, and then to go into a Pete Seeger song. No reason. No reason why a playlist should go there, except for the fact I was thinking about it. The next part of this, though, and I think this is the part that everybody has to really be aware of. Early on in my career, in my teaching career, I caught a student basically Googling. I know this because the client, I would always say, hey, how are they doing? Is there anything you think I can coach them on? And they were like, yeah, the reading was kind of like an obituary. The hair stood up on the back of my neck. And I said, oh, no, we don't do that here. After coaching them a little bit, they were like, yeah, no, I guess I did. Well, I didn't really do it. It came up and I said, enough, you're done. I'm not your teacher anymore. If you don't have that part if you don't have that in your personal awareness, I'm out of it. This chat mediumship, this AI mediumship is not only taking everything that's ever been on the internet. It is going to be eerily, quote unquote, remarkable how accurate it is when you're the one that's actually been fucking feeding it. You're the one that's been giving them the information. When you made that post and said, oh, I miss Mum today, that gave them the credentials because that's the way they want it built. What are the things that come up mediumship reading? That's what they wanted to know from me. They're like, you're a really good analyst. Could you work with us? And I said, ethically, I can't. If you want to develop, I'm going to tell you how it works. I have several students, by the way, around the world now that are really good at making this their conduit. If we give away our power, Writers Guild, Actors Guild, UPS drivers, if we give away our power, we may never get it back. That's the danger of AI. That being said, it's a fascinating thing. But
and that is why, thank God, Aquarius also stands for the community at large and for people. Okay, so we have both energies within the sign of Aquarius, and Aquarius is also about that sense of being able to connect to a kind of higher energy, that kind of the frequency, which one would say with mediumship, you are connecting to a kind of frequency that most people cannot tune into. And you have a naturally innate ability to tune into that and pick up what spirit are trying to ask you to pass on. Yeah. And so I think that perhaps the fact that we're already aware of how dangerous AI can be. I mean, we've got to stop feeding the machine, haven't we? We've got to stop buying so much tech stuff
So
that it's coming out of our ears.
well, and think about this. The relationship with my phone has changed.
Mm.
And I think this is, if you want to do something to improve you, listen, there are many like it, but that one is mine. Remember the time you did that and you were like, oh, this is on? Anyway, so, but when I went to the Bahamas and I didn't have a lot of connection, like I literally couldn't make a phone call or I couldn't send out a text and you had to be in a certain spot for the Wi-Fi and blah, blah, blah. I realized I just need to put my phone down and I need to be present and in the moment. And I think we lose that. And I think this chart is a combination of what we have to do as a people. We're on the this is more, and again, I am not fire and brimstone. To me, AI is it is a bridge too far. It is. And it's not, I'm not the old guy on the lawn yelling at people. I'm telling you, when you get asked to, have you ever had a job where they come in and they say, could you train this person? And then you're like, am I training my replacement? That's how I felt when they asked me to comment on mediumship and AI.
Yeah.
I mean, they were like, well, we'll get credit for it. And I said, well, do I get residuals?
Can I also ask you, is this, the future of kind of tarot card readings, that it'll all be automated?
Are you saying that it's time for a 1, 2, 3?
I think I might be.
Oh, baby, here we go.
Because I think we need to have a bit of a shuffle.
Yeah, I've been shuffling. I actually dropped my cards. And by the way, there's a lot of superstition about dropping cards. It's one thing when...
Who is there? Tell me.
Yeah, there's a lot of superstition in that, you're supposed to cleanse it. You need to go through a fuller new moon. You need to kind of go through those things. Treat it like being human. I mean, I don't treat it like it's Eucharist.
Uh-huh.
You remember when a priest would drop the Eucharist on the altar? And they used to have to put a hanky over it, and then they would have to come out and bless it and do a whole ceremonial thing and scrub the floor. It was a thing. Do you remember that?
Oh, yes, I do. I mean, when I went in the old days, when I used to do tarot readings, I was one of the few people, I was about the only person doing tarot readings because I'm that old.
In church?
And not quite in church. I did it at home, but I used to do all the incense in the room, and I made a real ritual about it. I lit incense. I had the charcoal blocks. I had little incense carrier, and I did. I always had a candle. I always had a cross. Actually, I had just all sorts of little paraphernalia, and I always played kind of mystical music in the background on my CD player, or was it a tape recorder in those days?
Oh, don't forget to hold down the red button along with the play button, or it won't.
Oh, I know. God, those were the days.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So I have I've rolled this out 1, 2, or 3. 1, 2, or 3. Lock it in right now. If you want to have fun with it and you're playing, if you're coming out with the live, you're on the premiere, or, even later on, I mean, it's all kind of good. It doesn't matter when you do it, as long as you're authentic and don't, speed it up.
What number are you choosing today, Brandon?
I'm gonna go 3 again.
Oh, no, you're joking.
No, I'm not.
That's mine.
We're on the same page. We're on the same wavelength.
Isn't it wonderful, darling?
All right, well, let's talk about number 1, and I'm doing a quick shuffle here, even though I've chosen.
Okay. Number 1. Now, I noticed, I think I've got to hold them up on a different side, because you put
hold it up on this side.
On this side?
Yeah, there you go, and then go closer to the camera. Yeah, that's kind of good, because we put the logo right there. Because
you put the thing in the middle, the sort of...
My fault, yeah.
And so I had it here, I think.
Yeah,
so
it's not you. I was trying to cover up Boris's tip.
Oh.
So number 1.
Okay, well, very reflective. I mean, 2 of Swords is Well, it's like do you know what Two of Swords is? Absolutely, I know exactly what it is. It is the nodes shifting signs, and it's this going fixed to cardinal energy. It's feeling this is really tough. This is really difficult. Why do I feel so? I can't think about all those problems at the moment. It's just all too hard. It's too difficult.
If you chose number one, you are on a spiritual path for sure. Right.
Yes.
So everything Penny just said, I love that take on the nodes, by the way. Wow. I wouldn't have thought about that. But you're right. It's a play of duality. And guess what? The Hermit is about your inner light. Not only are you the cagey Virgos here, but the Hermit, my regards, Robert Plant, with the bustle in your hedgerow. You're also at a completion point. You're at an elevation. So if you picked one, you're choosing to elevate. You're choosing to spiritually evolve. You might have some severe struggle with it, but really there's a pretty good chance that you're probably lined up with the 9th house or the 12th house with this transition for your node.
Yeah, and that makes sense because I think the way through from this card is through the Hermit. That's the way through. So if you're feeling like this and feeling, I can't stand this energy, it's all too difficult, it's all too challenging, then it's about what the cosmos and spirit, if you like, are inviting you to do is go within. Go within and find that inner light within you. And that will shed clarity on what's going on.
Yeah, so ones, pay attention to your spiritual path. That's why you chose it. Now let's go on to number 2. How do you feel about number 2? Like before you turn over a card, how do you feel about it?
I think it's in between. I think it might be cups. No, it's not.
Well, mine is, look at you with the 6 of Swords again.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And you did
6 of Swords.
I know you. And you played with the cards already. So it's not like you weren't. So wasn't number 2 the 6 of Swords for you again last week?
It was, we both had number 1.
Oh, and it was 6.
Number 1 and it was 6. It was the 6 of Swords. So it's moved from number 1 to number 2.
Well, moving down the charts, Casey Kasem. Now here's a letter from one of our dedicated listeners.
And I think that the 6 of Swords is actually about, yes, the energies are a little bit tough at the moment. Just keep going forwards and just keep doing what you're doing. I think it's saying don't make any big drastic changes at the moment. Just have faith.
Worry about you. That's kind of what it's saying to me. Worry about you.
Yes.
It's about every little thing.
Yes.
It's going to be all right.
Right.
Like, I think this is just stay in your power. Yeah, you're going through it. So this is a little bit of a different, this is more of a journey card. This is more of and I'm not talking about someday love will find you. I'm talking about journey as in you're going to get from point A to point B, and there's good reward on the other side of this. So whatever the struggle is, you're going to get there. Like that.
I think also the King of Cups sometimes could mean that one's a bit disconnected from one's feelings because he's floating on the water. He's not in the water. So he's a bit disconnected from that emotional kind of unconscious.
Feelings.
Nothing more than
feelings than the King of Cups. We should have a greatest hits album where all of them are dedicated to a different tarot card.
Yeah. Yeah. So and now we come to number 3, which is ours.
I'm going to pull out the Gemini card. You ready? Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Oh, bloody hell.
Love will keep us together. So you got the, you got the Angry Bird card or whatever it is. Not the Angry Bird, but the cage bird.
This is, I always think this is an interesting one. This is a self-made prison. This is, for goodness sake, take the scales off your eyes and have a look round. There's nothing bad out there that's about to hurt you. It's all okay. Everything is actually fine. And I don't mean fine in the sense that one is fucking incapable of normal emotions. I mean, fine in the sense.
I love that. Not that you're fucking capable, but here you are. You're an excellent coach.
Thank you. This is like saying you're just, how you're feeling is what you're doing to yourself.
Yeah.
And you've actually just got to, it's almost a bit like, stop it. Come on.
Yeah. Now, if this was the devil card, which is the opposite of the lovers in the deck in terms of like representation and what have you, it would be that you're in your own prison and you can't get out. This is a choice. You just have to make a choice. Boy, is that profound with where I'm going with this today. And
also, I think the lovers is also, I think, about, if you come out of this prison, then you get the integration of the self, the balance, the harmony of the masculine and feminine.
Yeah. And yeah, I love that balance of it. And, to me, the 8 of swords, and look at you going full swords. Like, what is up with that?
Oh, wow.
You are in your head. You are in your head, air sign. And by the way, the lovers is an air sign. So a lot of this, as a Gemini, you're thinking, your mind is your trap, but you know the way out of it. Remember when you said to me, this makes perfect sense to me for a lot of reasons, because when you said, Brandon, are you happy? And I said, I could see a way through. That 8 of swords also represents the idea that you have to trust your intuition.
Yeah.
The Lover's card is the choice card. It's not, hey, yes, congratulations, somebody's getting lucky. No, not necessarily. Right? Maybe, but guess who's watching?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's weird. Hi, here's Gabriel for you. If all of the angels of my loved ones are watching me right now, I've done some stuff that might have shamed them. Anyway, so the way that I interpret this is the 1-2 combo of trust your intuition and make your choice.
Yes. So actually, yeah. Do you want to do one for me and I'll do one for you?
I will absolutely do you.
Oh, promises.
It's not what you say, it's how you say it. Okay, say when.
Okay, hold on a minute. I'm thinking.
Say when.
You do me first. All right. Hang on a minute. Let me just sense it. When? Oh, wow. Got another sword.
Apparently. Well, the King of Swords is also known as the dad's belt. He may have some caring and love for it, but it's a bigger threat than it is the promise, right? It promises of like, I'm going to use my sword. And then the king just kind of is like, it's kind of heavy. I didn't really want to use the sword. There's actually a lot of compassion behind the King of Swords. There's a lot of like, hey, I want to be able to be an authority. It's the mindset of authority. Does that make sense?
So how do you interpret that for me then?
I think that you are creating a mindset for yourself to be in charge again, to be in charge of your thoughts.
Yes.
Your whims, probably, your wishes. Makes sense.
Yeah. Yes. I've been a little bit out of sorts, and I'm back in charge of me, or, in a sense, yes. Because I've managed to find a rhythm and a routine to what I'm doing. And I've balanced out how many clients I'll see in a day, how, so that I'm not overworking or overloading myself, because then I'm not efficient for anyone.
I'm learning that a lot in the last couple of weeks. And with the kids off in the summer, which is why we have our timeline that we do. And as soon as I hit, I hit stop, I have to run from their program.
You tell me when to stop. You tell me when to stop.
You'll know when I'm done. How about now? That's good. What does that mean? I want you to go 6 cards down. 6 is my life path. I'm already happy.
You're happy. And actually, I think that's a really good card for some family time, really good family time with the boys and, you know, really nice dad time.
You know, it's funny. My card, my astrological card, is the Nine of Cups, and the Nine of Cups is wanting to share with it all the time, so you never really get fully to the 10th cup. Like there's representation, there's pros and cons in it. I mean, it's a genuine happy card.
That is beautiful.
And then here you are trying to give me the 10th card. And it's about blended families. It's about, you know, being happy ever after.
Contentment.
I don't know what that is. Sound built.
There you go. There you go.
Excellent way to end the week. Thank you guys for being part of everything.
It's only Wednesday.
What's that?
It's only Wednesday.
I know, but this is their weekly dose, don't you know? It's 11:11 Eastern Standard Time, so we're going to give each other the heart tap to tell one another we care and love for each other. Hope everyone in Ukraine and Russia is safe, as well as Belarus and France.
I look like I'm giving myself CPR.
Oh my God, I have a story. I'll tell you about it later.
Okay.
Full blown, somebody was in a cardiac arrest, and I'm standing there. I can't believe I said this. I'm standing there and I'm like, she's still in there. We need to get her help. Like, that's all I kept saying, is all I could say. She's still in there. We need to get her help. And I'm telling people, like, when you're in an emergency situation, you point to somebody and say, you call 911, you get an ambulance, you start barking out orders. Somebody has to do that, and then back away and let everybody do what they need to do. Yeah. All I could say is she's still in there and she needs our help.
Wow.